Ashe, welcome, good people. I don't even know what day you're watching this, but we're recording this on Monday, July 24th, which actually happens to be the International Self Care Day. I just remembered that. And right? And, and there's a play on the word, on the idea of the numbers 724, 24/7, self care
Yeah.
24/7. Get it? Woo. So welcome to the spirit driven and spirit led conversation. I am Barbara Ohuninifa, founder, author, coach, all the things that my ancestors and Ori tell me to be. But the mission is all for me around remembering who the fuck I am and helping other Black women to remember that as well, and how to love ourselves. That is like the foundation. Everything comes back to that for me. And I have with me my sister here, who I will let her introduce herself, because every time I say her name, I butcher it. So we will all learn today. Just like when people try to say Ohunini Fa, I've heard so many different versions. I kind of just accept them all and know that they're just talking to me. But I'm
And,
gonna let you say your name and what you do.
and they mean well as they can mean.
Exactly. Exactly.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings, family, and those who are wanting to be family. We just welcome you. We're grateful. So I am Aina-Nia Ayo'dele, Ifayemi. I go by Aina-Nia Ayo'dele, and I'm a leadership coach and an ancient wisdom teacher. And I consider myself a spiritual liberation activist because that's really all I'm here for. I have chosen a long time ago that we truly cannot be liberated, and especially people of African descent, for the journeys that we have gone through. And I say journeys because there's been so many, and there continue to be. And we cannot truly be liberated until we have spiritually liberated ourselves and enter into that space. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be speaking with my sister. While she doesn't want to butcher my name, I don't want to butcher her name. And before the end of this recording, we both gonna really know how to say each other's name. Promise you that.
Either that or we just gonna forever call each other sis.
How we do
My
that?
sister.
How we do that?
Exactly, exactly. Well, I am so glad that we are here today. And as you know, and we're just letting the people know, we kind of wanted to call this, we didn't know what to call this talk, because the first time or two that we talked, it just flowed. And we were like, we need to to do this officially and share this with people. And what it really is it's a spirit-led conversation, as you can see and tell from, maybe from our introductions, that we're both being guided by ancestors. We're all are being guided by ancestors, but we're consciously tapping into it and calling them in and saying, I'm like, help me
It is.
navigate this life. And I love what you said about, we can't truly be liberated until we are spiritually liberated. As above, so below. If we ain't free in our mind, in our hearts, and in our spirit, there's no way our bodies can be free. Just like with our ancestors, some of them were free and liberated spiritually. So even though their bodies were enslaved, they survived it so that we would be here, because mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as much as they could, they were free, or at least freer
Yeah.
than many of us are now.
Yes.
So this conversation, they're here with us, and we're just gonna see where it takes us
I,
and
I,
go from there.
I know I wanna consciously and intentionally invite them in, though.
Yes,
That
yes.
they're here. We know they're here. They listen. I say this is the ancestors' home. I just live here, right? So, and I know it's the same for you. And so while we come from so many different regions and we're guided through many things, I want to just pause and then hand it
Mm-hmm.
over to you to do the same thing, my sister. That the ancestors, that this is your conversation, and we are so grateful that you are always with us. We're grateful that you are surrounding us right now. We know that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of you that are standing behind us, beside us, in front of us. You speak through us what it is that you believe you want folks to know at this particular time. We're in retrograde on so many levels. There's so many changes happening. All kinds of stuff is blowing up. But if we could speak for you, if you could speak through us so that others may hear, those who are ready to hear will hear. We say thank you and we invite you to stay with us. And we want you to know that we know that you're here. And thank you so much.
Ashe. Yes. And if I had a cup of water near me, I would pour it. I did pour libation just before we got on. So we're going to call that forth, that libation, that water, that coolness, so that our auras, our energies can be cool so that we can be in a receptive state to hear that and feel that and to let it flow through us. Omi tutu, omi tutu, omi tutu. Just as the water has no enemies and water flows from high to low, so will our words. Our words will flow from the spirit realm into this realm, this third dimension, and cut through any chaos and confusion that may try to impede its progress, to cut through it just like water will cut through rock over time. We know that our ancestors and our Oris will flow through and speak to us and through us to anyone who needs to hear the words that they are flowing through us to give to the world today. And I say, we are flesh of your flesh, bone of your bone, spirit of your spirit, blood of your blood. We are here, ancestors, to give testimony to your existence, to your good works, to the progress that you've made to your existence on this earth to do the good work. And we are here to continue that good work and to live the life of your dreams and our dreams, to live in freedom and liberation. Coming back to that word, I think that word is part of what they want to talk about today and the different things that that means. But with that, we say ashe, ashe, and asheo.
Share, share, share,
Thank
share.
you for bringing us back, sis, because I just will get, one of my Orishas is Shango, and Shango would just be like, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And it's like, all right, let's bring it back. Because Oshun is like, honey, we need to move a little slow with
you
this.
know, you know, you know, you know, you know, as she drops her sweetness on our tongues,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
just want to
yes,
make sure
yes.
that we're able to feel that.
Ashe.
So, liberation. You know, there are a few words that's coming up for me,
Mm-hmm.
and liberation is definitely one of them. Mother is the other.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we talked some time ago, just a few minutes, about initiation,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I don't know where those words are taking us and what you're feeling in your spirit. But those are what's coming strong for me. You know, what does that mean for us as women?
That's it's such a huge topic. And when I think about, again, that as above so below, when we look at what's happening in the world right now, you're right, it's kind of on fire. Every aspect of it, because it's all being transformed. It's all being going through an initiation. We all are, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. But some of the things around women's reproductive rights,
Mm-hmm.
I remember, what was it, last year when that Roe versus Wade was first overturned. At the same time, we were having a shortage on baby formula.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, mothers and children, where are we in this world? Like, are we can see throughout history that we really haven't been prioritized, and women and children in general, but especially Black women and Black children, just like not only not prioritized but targeted,
Mm-hmm.
targeted to be oppressed, enslaved, and all the things, and to forget who we are and the power that we have, and that we are the mothers of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
creation. And so when you think about that, it's like that kind of the things that are happening now, and it's just getting so much more blatant. I i feel like it's because it's an initiation. The mothers are returning, we are remembering. And as you go through that process, because we, all of us that are mothers and that have given birth, that ain't no pretty thing. When you give birth,
Somebody need to tell the truth.
it ain't pretty. All kinds of stuff come out of you. All kinds of stuff can happen. It's painful. I mean, even if it only lasts a few minutes. So, bless the women that have like a really short labor.
Yeah, I don't like them too much.
And forget about the ones who like didn't even realize they was in labor. Like, wait, what? how. But it's not an easy thing. So if we are returning, if we are rebirthing ourselves, we going through some things. And I'm talking about humanity and black women, because the two are very connected, because the first human born was born of a black woman, to be
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
So I think liberation, initiation, and mothers, that all goes together, because as you give birth, you are being initiated into motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
That child coming back to earth is being initiated into their next life path before they take it back to a room, before they take it back to heaven. And the purpose of all of it, as we go through all of it, is liberation, that spiritual liberation you talked about at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Woo.
It is true that there is a remembering happening, right? And it's looking different ways to,
Mhm.
it's showing up in different ways in different places around different situation. But the remembering is to remember that all creation happens through a woman.
Right.
All creation, no matter what
Mhm.
it is,
Mhm.
all creation happens through a woman. And a society that does not prioritize women is a society that is destined to be doomed, right?
Mm.
So there is so much fire happening. There's so many ways that we can see the damnation. And a society that refuses to prioritize women. We know in our practice, both of our practice, we know as original people, first people of this world, we know that the mother is the ruler of all things. Even when we go to do our rituals and ceremonies, we must go to the mothers.
Yeah.
There's no bypassing. There's no bypassing. There is no step over. You must go to the mothers. The mothers are the creation of all things. So when we have a society and so-called rulers who continues to dishonor, disrespect, disregard, make invisible women and women voices, oh, fire?
We get this. We get this hellscape. I won't even say that we just in now. We've been in it. And I don't say that to be all doom and gloom and pessimistic, because there is light, there is love.
Yes.
Light is winning. Light has already won. It's just as making its way to the earth.
Yep.
But we have to acknowledge what we're seeing is a result of the collective consciousness. What we're seeing is the result of what exactly you said, dishonoring women and the feminine principle.
Yes.
Dishonoring that for so long. It's been a couple thousand years, and we're
Yes.
seeing it.
Yes.
And now it's like, okay, we've had enough of that. The mothers are like, we've had enough of that.
We're
The
done.
sacred masculine has had enough of it.
Right? And because the moment colonialism stepped its ugly foot on our lands and made patriarchy the ruler of things and disrupted disrupted women leadership
Yes.
and the matriarchy.
Yes.
The moment that happened, we started to lose our minds.
Mm-hmm.
I've not, and I am 57 years old. I've been on this planet for a little bit. And I've not seen so many mental illness, so
Mm-hmm.
much display of of unhealthy minds. Like
Mm-hmm.
like display, like there's unhealthy minds and you can't really see it, but it's there. And if you have some
Mm-hmm.
analysis, then you can see. But like it's so blatant. We've gone mad, right? We've gone mad. And so it's this, and I think the madness and this eruption is because there's a cleansing, sister. There's a cleansing
Right.
that is happening. Like if we
Yes.
could just see it, right? That's why
Mm-hmm.
it's so important, I think, for those of us who are working so intentionally to live and be in a conscious way,
Yes.
to continue to do that, even in the midst of all the chaos,
Mm-hmm.
because we are needed.
Absolutely.
You are needed
Mm-hmm.
because there is an eruption that is happening. There is a remembering that is happening. The light is coming through,
Ashe.
and there needs to be you, me, so many others that are walking this path of
Mhm.
light.
It's so important because we all have gifts, right?
Oh,
And we live in a world that has told us, those things and gifts and ways that we just naturally do so well or that we're drawn to are not important. What's important is the bag. What's important is this external stuff. What's important is what you look like and, on social media and all those things. But what I'm how old am I? 51? I'm forgetting how old I am. I know how old my
because
kids
you're older than that. Your
right.
spirit, so it's like, which life?
Which one am I? Because and time is irrelevant. Because sometimes I feel like a little big baby. Like, wait, I'm still learning stuff. But just learning, oh, that actually is my gift. Those are my superpowers that I've been trying to ignore or I took for granted, and that is the medicine, the gift that I'm supposed to bring. Because we all got a role to play. This is not a one-stop shop type, one way of doing things. We all gotta come with the things that we have mastered, and
Yes.
if we ain't mastered it, life is going to make sure we master it. That's the initiation of life that we were talking about before we came on. Life is going to take you through some things, and you're going to have to master it to get through it. But that's your medicine that you teach others how to do then. So that we can all go through this rebirth and this cleansing that's happening. And to your point, if we're not doing it consciously, there's the potential of kind of getting swept up into it and not knowing what's going on. The anxiety levels go high. I mean, I even deal with it sometimes still, but I got
Mm-hmm.
to get back to my spiritual practices so the anxiety quells. And I'm like, oh, I'm flowing with this water. I'm not trying to fight against it. That's what the anxiety is, trying to
Mm-hmm.
control it. Um, but the other thing, what you were talking about, reminded me of something that happened about a month ago. I was out, so I do well. I used to do Afro Brazilian dance. That's where I actually was first introduced to the Orishas and specifically Oshun. That's when I took an interest, and then later I found out that she was rolling with me as
Mm-hmm.
one of my head Orishas, so it made sense. But we were gathered together. Our teacher left town, and she had come back to do a workshop and some performances, and so some of her more dedicated students, we had gone out to have some drinks and some lunch, and just kind of basking in the sun. And as we, small group of women, and then one of the other sisters that dances with us, she's an incredible, beautiful dancer. She came with her two kids. One was, a baby in the carriage, and then the other was, like a 9-year-old little girl, beautiful little girl. And we all sitting there outside on the patio, and then this woman comes, and the waiters had served us, is all good. And then a woman who's the manager of the place, came very loudly and harshly. We cannot have children here. You must leave right now. I'm sorry, you need to go. And it was so abrasive. It was, people stopped and were looking, and it's like, you're not moving fast enough, you need to go right now, we will lose our liquor license. It was just so much. And I was looking at her like, just in disbelief, just looking at her. And then, our friend, she gathered up her children, and like the shame that was being put on her, she gathered up her children, and she just went, and because we were outside and it was like in a little patio, but there was tables outside of the patio. So she just gathered up, and one of our other friends went and sat with her. So she was like nearby, but had just kind of got cast out. That's what the frick is happening to women and children on this planet right now. And the mothers tapped me. They were like, "You need to go have a talk with her." So I went in and I had to explain to her. I understand you are the manager. Y'all might get in trouble. You might lose your license. But the entire way you're handling that was offensive, and it was demeaning. And she just kept trying to explain, and I was like, "I need you to listen to me. Yes, you are a leader, and people normally ignore you. We weren't ignoring you. We were in shock. That's why we were just looking at you as you talked. You, as a woman, It was not even me talking, I swear. You as a woman, you have to do leadership differently than how you've seen it. There was a different way you could have handled that if you tapped into your feminine leadership in a different way. A woman talking to another woman with children, it should not have even gone down like that. So I wound up talking to her for about 15 minutes. Whether she got it or not, I don't know. But at a bare minimum, she at least gonna remember that conversation, and I hope think twice before she treats another mother and child that way. Because that was ridiculous. No other waiter, nobody else that worked in that place did that except for a woman. And that, I mean, if we're talking about what the world is doing, we got to start with how women treat each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because that may be where the first fall happened.
You
Not
know,
blaming it on us, but I'm saying that's a place where we can
yeah,
look.
in civilized society, which is not here where you and I live in North America, in civilized society, women take care of each other and they take care of each other's children.
Yes.
Children are not, it is unheard of for children to be pushed aside and not be part of the ritual, the ceremony, the
Mm-hmm.
conversation, the market. It's children are just part of it, and women take care of each other. So, in this
Mm-hmm.
uncivilized place that we live, where women feel it is okay to treat other women with such dishonor and such disrespect,
Mm-hmm.
and the competition and the oh my good and the incompassion and the unforgiveness and the need for male identification.
Mm.
We stand on top of, walk over, push each other for this identity. There are two major identities that I see, my sister: desired identity, and that is the male identity, and the white identity.
Woo.
And we do so, maybe nobody will listen to this after that, but because for me, it's all wrapped up in one, right?
Absolutely. That's
It's
why this
all
thing is so complex. You got multiple things just kind of interwoven together.
it's
But go
all
ahead, speak
wrapped
on
up in
it.
one, and then so we then become enemies of each other because we're enemies of ourselves.
Mm.
A woman that don't think for a minute that there's another way that she can keep her job and not lose her. She had reasons, I guess, but to not think that there was a more compassionate way.
Right.
We've lost compassion.
Completely.
We've lost compassion. I run a women's process, a leadership process for women. We're in our 14th year. And one of the key rules for us, and it's for Black, um, Indigenous, and racialized women. We started off with Black women only, and we've expanded.
Mm-hmm.
And a key principle for us is we must respect and honor each other.
Absolutely.
So we have absolutely we have disagreements. We're not, we're human beings, so we have disagreements. We have different politics sometimes. We're all healing and growing, and I say we because I heal and grow in the process too, even though I'm leading it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing is, when that happens, and when we get to a place where it's about to boil, we sit together and we must do our ceremony. And gossiping is not
Oh,
allowed.
that's the poison.
Not allowed. Not allowed.
You either bring it to the woman, the sister that you have the issue, the concern, the whatever with, in a way where you're seeking what one of your spiritual teachers talked about, carefrontation, Iyamba Vincent.
Mhm.
I'm like, or whatever methodology, but to really just instead of talking and trying to gather up support, talk to the person or talk to spirit.
Talk to spirit. Because you can just go talk to spirit and it can be resolved.
Yeah,
Truly. Right?
spirit got.
But this and social media, I think, has taken that to a whole different level.
Mm-hmm.
The like and who like and don't like even the whole turn, the thought is just blows my mind, right? So
It is.
we turn against each other and we compete with each other and we forget compassion. Because I don't know what your journey is, sis. You don't know what we've been trying to have this conversation since something like April. I don't even remember,
It has.
right?
It has.
And
And
it's
life.
either you have to say, oh, can't, or I say, oh, can't. And we
Mm-hmm.
continue to hold each other in consciousness and lift each other up.
Ashay.
We can bring joy and compassion and love to whatever is going on. We have forgotten that.
Absolutely. And it brings to mind two things. That's how my mind works. They'll send me one thing and then they'll kind of add on to that. So something that Baba Lau had said to me is that assume good intent
Assume good intent.
as you work through and walk and talk to people. And at the same time, so that is in and of itself. So we can come back to that. But the other thing I want to say before I forget it is that brought me to oftentimes it's so much easier. I think you said it, one of those identifications, male identifying, right? Or maybe it's in this case, it's male uh, trying to compete for that male gaze, or where
Mhm.
we give authority to the male. And this, in the Ifa tradition, the Baba Lao, they get so much honor, respect, and all the things. But what about the Ianifas? What about the Ias that actually hold the spiritual space to birth any priest or any aberration? What about them?
Yep,
Like you said, there is no ritual that doesn't start with honoring and calling in that feminine energy, because that's the thing that actually gives the
that's
gives
creation.
that's creation, right? And so when I think about how even in some of these traditions that are largely in terms of the numbers of people women, and yet there's still that competition and that self-hate and that we bring that trauma into that. And those are really two different things, but that's what my mind, my spirit gave me, that then that.
But but I think it's so related. So I want you to say that the intent, assume good,
Assume good intent.
assume good intent.
Mm-hmm.
Like that we can just live on that principle.
Yep.
I'm so glad that you brought that to this comment. I remember when I was in when I was in Kenya in January, I had to go back there because I was also given that at the beginning of my journey. I still give honor and praise to this. And it's interesting. The man who brought me into this place of consciousness
Mm-hmm.
was a Hare Krishna. Uh, you know, that was his way of moving. But he brought me into a level of consciousness. And I remember him always saying, assume good intent. And so I was having a rough time. There was about a few days in Kenya where I was having a rough time. And I woke up one day and I remembered him. Al Anderson is his name. He now lives in Jamaica. And so if he ever, wherever he is, to hear me say his name, and he brought me into metaphysics and through his method. And I remember him like he just came to me. And I said, from this moment forward, in this place, I will assume good intent.
Mm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
shifted everything. It shifted everything because I consciously chose to see things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Assume good intent, you
So
know?
let me ask a question with that. And this is just me, like, because it's part of my personal struggle. Because we all trying to grow. I'm trying to grow too. And if like, I know my natal chart now, and I know that in my astrology, in my energetic makeup, there's a part of me that, because I want to give so much, boundaries is something I have to learn.
Mm.
on how to protect my own energy. And as you know, as you're learning something, you either have none or you have too many or they're
Yep.
too high. And so you find and figure out that space. And this is what my life has been like. No boundaries. Okay, now you're burning down everything.
Yeah,
I'm
right, right. Yeah.
Shango over me, or Shango is tearing down and burning everything in its path. Like, and trying to find that middle. So as you think about assume good intent, if I've been burned by good intent, and I'm saying this not only because I'm transparent with my own journey, but I know I'm not the only one on this.
Oh, for
As
sure.
you go through trying to assume good intent, I guess how do you get to a point where you're like, okay, you're actually not good intent? And as I'm saying it, I'm kind of answering my question in my
Yeah, yeah,
head.
yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah,
I've so good intent, but actually, you're actually not good for me, and I need to put boundaries around you and cut that.
yeah.
Like, what are some of the indications as you've gone through that journey that have helped to be open but have boundaries?
That's such a good one, and it's one that we all work through, right? But this thing called discernment,
Mm, mm.
when I pray to my Ori, that is my continuous prayers. Ori, help me to discern. There was a time, my sister, I'm gonna tell you, we have to tell truths, right? There was a time when I was so poor at that discernment thing. I really was. And I'm talking about through my journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because assume good intent. But I would be assuming the good intent so much that I would be blinded to the two-facedness,
Right. That
right?
part.
Because
Yes.
everything is beautiful. And
And
especially,
that's how we
and
admit.
especially when we're new into spirituality, everything is beautiful.
Oh, it's
Our
all
life is beautiful. And it's true. That's true. And a teacher, it was a Babylao actually, who helped me to create one mask. And so I created this mask with two different looks. And I had this mask on my altar for a long time until I learned the lesson
ah.
to remind me to be discerning, right? To be discerning so that I can see when a shoe is showing up in its trickster space.
As you were talking, I started seeing that shoe. Yep, that shoe.
Yeah,
Let me help you out.
you know, when it's just pure 100% samphire, because I'm from Jamaica, so we say samphire. I use Gino, trickster, like straight up, right? So
Mhm.
that I could see it. So that I could see it and I would know it, and that I would have the wisdom to create boundaries or walk fully away from it.
Ashe.
Because the fact that I am in an experience and I'm learning from the experience doesn't mean I have to stay in the experience.
Right.
Just mean that this
Get the
experience is
lesson. Get the lesson. The experience is there for the lesson, not for you to suffer.
can we say that again? Because
Get the lesson.
yeah,
You are not meant to suffer. And if it's a difficult situation, and again, as I speak, I'm speaking to me because
yeah.
everything's a process. I don't know why I always have to say that, maybe to remind myself.
But
But if you in a
it's really not for
difficult,
anybody else, it's for us.
right.
Right.
But as we're going through difficult times in life, be it in relationship, be it in your finances, because I mean, the financial situation in the world is burning too. Like every aspect, health, every aspect, if you find yourself in these difficult, undesirable, hard, painful situations, the quicker you can get to the lesson, the more you can discern, call on SU, right? Call on the Ori. I'm just recapping what you said. Call on all of those, our ancestors.
Yeah.
Yo, help me to see and understand what this is. Help me to see and understand, is that person really for me? Help me see and understand, is this situation something that I need to work through to get to the other side and this situation will transform? Or is this situation just bringing me a lesson that I need to get so I can get up out of the situation? Like all of those are possibilities, and everything is not always the same thing. But to get that, and in any situation, get the lesson and see you can leave that pain behind. That's what my godfather always says: get the lesson, leave the pain.
Leave the pain, because the person may not be for a lifetime, but the lesson is.
Right. And that lesson is gold, because then you're going to take that, and especially as women, because that's what we do. We take in energy, or I'll say feminine energy. We take
Yes,
in energy
yes,
and we transmute it and give birth to something else.
yes, yeah, yeah.
So let me take
And
that
it's
Wahala you just gave
important.
me and give birth to E-Ray.
And I'm so glad that you brought up boundaries, because one of my favorite, it's my favorite principle in the world, only because I had to work so hard to get it.
Mm,
Right? So
mm,
it has become my favorite spiritual principle, because it saved me so many times.
Ashe.
Having boundaries have saved me so many times. And often we are not favored when we have boundaries, right?
Oh,
Because people because people don't, make all kind of, they label it as other things.
yeah.
But it's the most self-loving thing that we can ever do, is to have clear and defined boundaries in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
to really determine what we will do and what we won't do, and what we will not cross, and just, it's the clearest, it's the most beautiful self-caring. You said today is self-care day.
Yes.
It's
International self-care. Yep. There
international
we go.
boundaries, setting, and it's a practice, right? Because I think it's a practice. For me, it has been, and every day,
Mhm.
I'm still working through it, right? And as mothers,
It is a practice. We got to get good at it. Micro steps, mini steps, every step we can take, because otherwise, if you don't have boundaries, because I've lived a life of that. I can remember from even childhood, just even like on the playground, not having boundaries, like all of these things, not having boundaries. And then over time, something in you, at least for me, and again, it may be, I got some gangster ancestors, or it may be Shango, but at a certain point, without having those boundaries, at a certain point, something stands up and says, enough is enough.
yeah,
And then you got no control over anything, and you blow everything up. And then you go back again. So it's like, again, coming back to, I said that earlier, that middle ground. How can I have boundaries on these things a little bit along the way, so I don't have to like lose my shit later? Like, how
yeah,
can we
yeah.
do that? And it's a challenge, because it goes against what we taught,
Yes.
how we were raised. And if you really love people and you want to see people do well, and you want to, I mean, many of us have that people pleasing disease, right?
Hmm.
I call it disease.
Hmm.
To where, oh, that person's not happy with me, let me see what else I can do to get them happy with me, for them to think I'm okay, because we don't think we're okay, so we need everybody else to think we're okay. Self-love and boundaries, self-care and
It's this
boundaries.
choice, it's this choice. For me, it's simple things, simple, unsophisticated things that I would do to help myself. I'm famous for notes. I'm famous for notes. My box on my desk says, "Created to make today awesome." Like, I just have things that reminds me. So when I
Mm-hmm.
was getting into boundaries, for me it was, I'm enough. Because the reason that, for me, that often I would violate my own boundaries, was because I wanted to prove that I was worthy.
Whew.
Still do, still
Good.
do.
Say that again,
I'm
Lord.
worthy. I am worthy. I'm worthy to be in your presence. I'm worthy to be, to be asked to do. I'm worthy. So, just let me just make you just walk over me for a minute. You don't have to walk over me for long, but just for a minute, go ahead, walk over me. And because I get up, but you know that I'm really worthy. So it's this place of self-worth, and for those of us who have been abandoned early in our life, like I was abandoned by my father. For
Mm-hmm.
those of us who were abandoned early in our lives, we carry that. And for a long time, we can't, until it's healed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or healing, or getting to this place of, further along the healing journey, because I don't know if it ever gets completely
Right,
healed,
right.
right? But we are often very much wanting to prove that we are worthy, that we belong. And so, as we work on these boundaries, places, and this place of value, my purpose for being back on this planet in this lifetime is to own and respect and honor my value, right?
Ashe.
That is a key piece for me. So, I think, different ones of us are on different paths, right? But for
Exactly.
me, so that's why I had to work so hard on this boundary piece, because this boundary piece then helped me to get to that place of worthiness and defining my own value systems.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my journey, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that's what has helped me. And it's sometimes I've lost relationships because of that. I've lost love, and there's been loss, but there's been so much gain.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ashe.
that's what I have to say about that, though.
You said a word though that, and I guess I've never really truly thought about it in that way. We have all these different concepts, and the concept or the notion of self value is very much a theme for me as well. But as I mentioned, I already knew that I struggle with boundaries. But I guess I hadn't really integrated them like, oh, as you work on healthy boundaries, not too much, not too little, that will help you protect and understand your value. And I guess, the way I'm experiencing as I'm going through and feeling through it now, it's kind of reciprocal, because if I have any amount of value for myself, that fuels my ability to have a boundary. And then
Mm,
as that boundary works and I, deflect something that wasn't for me, then my value increases because I'm telling my subconscious, oh, see, you are worth it. That was good for you. And then it's like they kind of build up on its own, as if I can continue to do that and not get distracted by, again, the world is on fire, and not get distracted by all the things, and just kind of focus on that internal world, bringing it back to, what do we say, mother's liberation and initiation. We're
mhm,
initiating
mhm.
ourselves, we're mothering ourselves and liberating ourselves. And part of that for everyone is going to be something different. Value and self love and remembering who I am is part of that foundation for me
Yeah,
to get liberated. I can't be free if I don't know who I am.
yeah,
Like, for real, know who I am. Like, as one of the original people's women on the planet,
yeah.
knowing that. So then it's like, why do I need you to validate me? I gave birth to you.
Ah!
Not directly, but you know what I'm saying. It becomes like, that makes no sense.
Why do I need you to validate me? I gave birth to you. Sister, let us take that even deep. That's some. Oh, I'm getting goose, all kind of Orisha bumps over here.
Not goosebumps or Risha bumps.
Why do for think of African women, as African women, the mother of creation.
Ashe.
I am looking to a non-African person to validate me when I created you.
Don't believe the hype. Because all they just been feeding us lies, and now we have like absorbed that, and many of us believe that, trying to get that proximity to whiteness, or proximity, or the approval of the male gaze, like, because it's getting that, I think for our people in general, is getting that validation from we'll just say the others, other ethnicities, other
Everybody else. Everybody
everybody
else.
else. Yeah, there we go. And then as women, getting validation and approval from men, or that
Yeah.
masculine energy. And it's just like, it all started with you. We don't we, it's not something that we need, but we've brought into the belief that we do need it.
When you were talking about the boundaries, the self-worth, therefore the value. Like I
Mm.
could see it was so, it was like I was seeing this cyclical energy, right? And the connection, it's this. I remember I create boundaries. I value, it's the word.
Oh,
I,
yes.
yeah, I'm worthy. And therefore I create my own value. And because I could see it just spiraling
Yeah.
up and spiraling up over and over and over.
Oh, thank you for that. That visual, because we know that spiral in terms of sacred geometry, that is creation. Everything that grows in nature, the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, the golden spiral, that is how everything that is created with the spiral. So why wouldn't we be the same way? Our own consciousness be the same way. Our own elevation be the same way. It's a spiral. It's not a nothing, very little. Nothing in nature is linear. Man create linear, but thank you for that visual. I think there's even a spiral behind you on the wall.
Whoa, you're right. We have this spiral.
Because as I'm talking, I'm seeing the spiral. I'm like, wait, that is a
That is
spiral.
so true. This came from Burundi. This is so true. This is, yeah, yeah, yeah,
It.
yeah,
And it's such a feminine principle because
yes,
that's how, as I go back to the dance, that's how we move with, even with the hips and all the things. That is that feminine principle of that spiral. And so if we are mothering, liberating, and initiating ourselves, it's going to be a spiral, not a straight line. And it's, we do a little bit, that grows, the self-worth grows, we have better boundaries, we value ourselves more, we see our self-worth more. Like, thank you.
yeah, yeah. I'm
So
not an
this is
artist, right?
meditation now, as I look at spirals, something to meditate and focus on, something
Yeah.
else.
And all the different initiations that we go through then take us to the next level, the next level, and the next level, and the next level. That's what these initiations are for. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we wait to be initiated into something like,
Yeah.
oh, I have this one person who keeps saying, I need to get initiated. I need to get, and but and that is good for
Mm-hmm.
sure, because the learning that comes with all the initiations that we've had is priceless. But if we are conscious enough in these different initiations that's happening in our lives,
Yes.
like if we sit back, I remember the first time I did that, which was to sit back and list all my initiation over 9-year periods through our nine
Mm-hmm.
years or cycles,
Mm.
right? And every one of them was purposeful, even in the pain.
Ashe.
I got to another level, right? And then I got to another level of that spiral, and then I got to another level, and we continue to be initiated.
We absolutely do. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna do that. I mean, I had done a little bit of that kind of just, but I haven't looked at my entire nine, taking it into 9 years, looking at my life. But when I had the first time when I realized, oh, I'm being initiated, was in 2017. I was in a year 9 in terms of my, my personal year, after having, in terms of, if you know numerology,
Yep.
essence goes tell you about the experience. I'd had a number of year of nines, even though I was in different personal years. My
Yeah.
essence cycles were 9 for a number of years leading up into this personal year 9. So there was something that was trying to shed that I wasn't shedding. And then in that 2017, in year 9, that's when I had the aortic dissection. And I had
Whoa.
3 open heart surgeries, and I died 3 times in the hospital. And I remember, and I was in intensive care for 50 days, and there was a lot of things that I thought I was hallucinating. Now I'm not sure I was hallucinating with things that I was seeing and
You were,
experiencing.
you weren't.
I mean, I thought I was then, but I'm like, that was, because that's a whole other story. But um, I just remember one of the times when I woke up, and it was probably the second time. that they had done open heart surgery, and I didn't really realize what had been happening. I just thought I was going to sleep and waking up the next day. And then after the second one, they told me, "Oh, you actually died a couple of times, and we've had multiple open heart surgeries." And um, and because I'd had multiple surgeries, they had me closed up with staples.
Mm.
And I was just feeling the staples here, and I was like, "Oh." First of all, I felt like Tina Turner in Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. I was like, "Oh, I'm a badass." Like I was not in the mental capacity, in the mental way that they would have expected me to be, because I was like, "All right, shoot, I survived this." But I remember telling, because I was in having dialysis every day because my kidneys had failed because of everything that was going on with my vascular system and all that. And I remember telling one of the dialysis nurses that my spirit was initiating me, and that he was actually doing his part of the initiation by cleansing my blood, because that's what dialysis does, right? Puts you, and it's the strangest feeling. Your blood goes into a machine, cleanses it, pumps it back in. And and he was just, I remember him just sitting there listening to me, and I was dead ass serious. I remember me saying it, but like as a different me, saying, "Hey, I was in Brazil a few weeks ago, and I was supposed to go through a ritual. No, I wasn't. And because I didn't have the ritual there, I'm having it here, and Spirit is using these different hospital instruments and all of y'all to do it." What was I talking about? I really don't, I mean, I don't know consciously, but I was dead serious. I was like, there was a cleansing that needed to happen, and they're doing it through you now. So thank you. So I was again at the end of a year 9. I got through that. I came home December 9th, and then December 23rd was my birthday, started the year 1.
Wow.
You can't tell me that wasn't a freaking initiation. And every year since then has been another thing that I've experienced and gone through. I keep thinking, can I be done? And it's like, no, you in it now. This is happening.
So 2017, we're in 2023. So that's been 6 years.
Yep, I'm in a year 6 now. A lot of family stuff, a lot of change. Heading towards this year 7. I'm like, wow, so that's gonna be more spiritual things. Which is why I'm like, let me just keep getting ready. And also, and my personal year is 1 year behind the universal year. So the universal year is in a year 7.
Yeah.
So it's like everything I feel it twice.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, that's
Wow.
what I chose. And
That's
that's
what
the
you
year I
chose.
come in here.
Wow. But imagine if we start to how you've done it, right? And I'm sure it wasn't necessarily simple. But imagine if we start to look at life that way,
Right.
right? And say, oh, I'm going through an initiation. Oh, okay. you know, what do I need to be prepared for this? What do I need to move through this as easy as possible?
Exactly.
You
Yep.
know, as opposed to seeing it's that see all things good first,
Oh, assume good intent.
assume good intent, right? What if we then watched our life and saw our life as these initiations, and then when we have tools, and we have tools like dream tools, and we have divination tools, and we have those tools that can help us to say, okay, here are the preparations, right? And this is
Mhm.
this is this is this is operating at this other dimension, you catching up kind of thing, as opposed to seeing these things as disastrous,
Yes.
right, and horrible, and all of the things that we ascribe to these
Hmm.
experiences, right? That's a different way to live. There's not a popular way to live. It's not what we've been taught, and how we've been taught to live. I remember this story that an elder had told, that was supporting me in I had a relative that was very sick, and just was choosing not to do the right things,
Hmm.
for their own healing, but and this is the boundary thing again, right? but was pulling me into it, or trying to pull me into this unwell way of approaching the situation. And my elder said, yeah, ancestors don't want you going anywhere close to that. You know,
Mm-hmm. They will let you know.
don't want you going anywhere close to that. And I don't know if you have had these experiences, but I have, where the elder says one thing, and I'm not sure if they're really right.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And
Hard head, get a soft behind.
but then the ancestors find another way to tell you, and find another way to tell you, and find another way to tell you. And by the time I hear it like the fourth time, like, okay, yeah, right, okay. And so in these situations where, okay, you don't belong in this space,
Mm-hmm.
do not take yourself, no matter how many whites you wear and how many times you cover yourself, do not take yourself into the space.
It's like they say with some energies and spirits you're dealing with, they gonna laugh and eat your sage. Your sage don't matter. Your whites ain't gonna matter. Someplace you just don't need to be.
Don't need to be. And so then putting those boundaries in place, even for those things, even as a healer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even as a leader, even as a ritualist, just really putting clear boundaries on the situation for our own initiation,
Mm-hmm.
for our own growth, and being okay with it not being popular, because it doesn't mean that I wasn't caring for the person, doesn't mean that I wasn't praying, it doesn't mean that I wasn't doing all the other things that I could, but don't put yourself in the space.
Yep. Yep.
And so those pieces, and I don't even know why I'm sharing this, but who
We
knows?
say spirit-led conversation.
Spirit-led conversation. But sometimes we need not to put ourselves in the space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was telling you. So the elder was sharing with me the story, why, as they were trying to help me to see. And as I said, I had to hear it about 3 times to get it, right? Because they were sharing with me the story of going to help someone. Didn't check in with spirit, just even as an elder, right? Going
Mm-hmm.
to help somebody because they thought they needed to, and had a serious car accident. They were saved in the car accident. And so they went back and said, what was this about? I was on my way to do good. But the story with who they were going to do good for needed their own healing
That part.
by their own self,
That
because their stuff was so undealt with.
that part.
Do you understand? And so bringing ourselves into those situations that we don't belong in.
It takes you and them off track because there's, as they say, keep your eyes on your own mat. There was a lesson that they were supposed to get. We intervene. They don't get the lesson, and we pick up their crap. It takes us off path and them off path. When the best thing to do, to your point, take care of yourself, send them love and light and prayers to support them on that journey so they can know and get what they need to get out of the experience they're having. And when it's something different, you'll feel that when your presence there is in alignment for you and them.
Yeah.
But we can't operate from a thought process of people gonna say I'm not a good person if I don't do that and I don't do such and such and such. No. I had a really good friend, my god sister. I love her so much. I love her to pieces. I was not able to go to her mother's funeral because spirit was like, no, sit your down. I pray for her, I pray for her family. But, a year or 2 years later, when they had a misa, a celebration for the mother, I was there.
Yeah.
I'm dancing, I'm doing the thing. But Spirit was like, you cannot be in a funeral home and in a cemetery right now because of where my energy was. I would have picked up everything and everybody around it.
And that's that spiritual liberation piece. That's what Because when we're liberated, when we have allowed, for me, it's about allowing the freedom of spirit.
Yeah.
When we allow spirit to guide and we're following, when we're allowing our intuition to guide and we're following. Because remember, we are, this body is enfolded in spirit. We're trying to, like make it go ahead. Like it's so painful. It's so
It doesn't
painful.
have to be. Even for folks that have difficult destinies. Because
Yes.
sometimes we choose, like, oh, we got some stuff. Like, I'll speak for myself. I got stuff to work out and from my ancestral lineages. I was the one who said, fill up my bag, give me all y'all crap. Let me take my crap. I'm gonna go in the earth, down the hole. All right. Now I'm picking through it and cleaning out all of the crap from the lineage that I brought with me. And that's not an easy thing, but I chose that. But that doesn't mean it's still gonna be a difficult life. It doesn't have to be. That just means I got to use more discernment, more tools, more intuition, and physically wear white and mentally wear white, and which means just stay in alignment.
Stay in alignment and stay in the light. Stay. So it means then, so, for people who are listening to this, and if for a moment you lose your mind and say, what are these two crazy ass women talking about?
Our
Don't
people will come; they'll know.
don't go there too quick. Don't go there too quick. Just feel and hear what spirit is telling you through this conversation, right?
Okay.
Because the truth is that you're right, sis. We chose this contract, right? And so if this contract, like I chose a contract, my father abandoned me, I lived with a stepfather that was abusive, I chose that mother that chose that man that chose that,
Mhm.
like all the things that happened, right? All of the things that led me to who I am today. So that's my contract. But what that probably, and so when you take up a contract like yours, that is really a big one, right? It's like cleaning up the lines before you. Like many of us, that's our contract. But when it's specifically like here,
Mhm.
it then means that no wonder you're in priesthood, right? Because that means that more than anybody else, you need to be in the light.
Ashe.
You need to be aligned. You need to, your work, it's kind of like, okay, how many times do I go to do my Ori? Okay, you do your Ori once a week, girl. I got to do mine 3 times a week,
You just said a word right there. I used to think I could do it like once every few months or once a quarter. Then I moved to once a week. Then I fell off. I think I do need to be working on it. I need to be doing some cleansings and some feeding multiple times a week, especially in this whole retrograde season, because it's been a woof.
Girl, that's why today's my decluttering day, because I need to move everything out of the way,
That's
right?
real.
And it's real. It's real. So it's like, hey, I chose this man. Okay, then I just gonna have to do a little bit more work. I don't get to go chill like Aina-Nia.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We don't get that. We don't get that. We chill in a different way.
We chill in a different way.
In a different way, because once you lighten up and do some of the work, like the what did my godmother say to or it's a common phrase, to whom much is
Is
given, much
given
is
much to
expected.
whom much is given, much is expected.
Ashe.
The crown, those who wear the crown, heavy is he who wear the crown.
And I'm gonna just say, and we talk in initiation. I am not an initiated priest in Ifa. I am an Abarisha and Isode, but I always want to be clear, because of those who have gone through the formal ritual of initiation. I respect and honor that. That's our tradition. That's whatever lineage you're from. The going through that formal thing is important, and it does do it is not just for show, because I know a lot of people will be like, oh, I initiated myself, or I had dreams
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Risha came and initiated me in my dream.
yeah.
Those are things that happen in your life, the types of initiation that we've been talking through, that life takes you through,
Life
and the things that
initiations.
take you through. But official initiations into different traditions are a real thing and not to be faked or done way, or and they are to be honored. So we just want to be clear about that, because we both
Yeah.
practice African spiritual traditions in different lineages, and it's not to take away from that and
Yeah.
act like that's not a thing. But
Yeah.
before you even get to that, life been taking you through initiations, and if you can get those lessons, kind of reiterating what we've already said, if you can get those lessons and see that in your own life, when you actually do go through the initiation, it's going to be so much smoother, less painful. And this is from talking to many of the priests who's been like, man, I went through initiation, I came out of Igbodu. Your life is in There's the potential for your life to be in shambles because spirit got to clean it all up, because you weren't consciously initiating along the way when it was happening before you went through the ritual. And now you got all this ashe, and ashe is just moving through, amplifying the bull, amplifying the stuff that needed to get moved out if you were able to do it consciously before. So I just want to
I'm so
reiterate
glad.
that.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because we never want to any level of misunderstanding or misinterpretation. And there are so many different traditions that and different, even even within the Yoruba traditions, there's so many different ways. Like I've
Yeah.
learned so many there's so many different ways, and I have chosen to be very mindful not to critique or
Right.
judge any of the ways, right? Because folks are doing the best that they know how to do at that
Mm-hmm.
and what they know how to do, right? So I've had different teachers at different times along the way, and
Exactly.
sometimes I was doing a class on last week, yeah, just last week, and I was like, but that's not what that I was told over, over here. And so, but this place of, and that's okay too,
Mm-hmm.
so just understanding that everybody has different ways, different sects of doing the tradition. Even when we
Mm-hmm.
think about indigenous peoples across Turtle Island, and I'll be in one lodge that does something completely different from this. It just really depends on the clan, the tradition, the tribe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're mindful and honoring of it all.
Ashe.
Yeah.
So I know we've been talking for a little over an hour, and we could keep going, but as we kind of try to wrap things up, you know, and I'll have you to go first. What are some of the things, like what's your website? What are things that you have coming up? If people want to go beyond, our just chit chat and get deeper into work you do or deeper into work I do, but what are some of the things that you have coming up in the next, before, let's say between now and September or so?
So we'll go to November.
Okay.
We'll go to November. Right away, I'm getting ready in the next 2 weeks to head to Chicago. I am speaking on a number of plenaries and opening the Women's Assembly for the Parliament of World Religions. This is a big deal for us as African spiritualists because many years ago we wouldn't have been invited to a space like this,
Ah,
right? So I want to be clear that I'm not jumping for joy that I'm invited. I am saying because the fire is real
yes, yes.
and because the remembering is happening, I am being invited to share our ways in this parliament. So tens of
Hmm.
thousands of people. And so I'm on the featured list of luminaries. So I feel honored
Okay.
for that, of course. But heading to Chicago for that, that would be
We
great.
give thanks to Ifa, your ancestors, your Ori, because they're the ones who did it. And the mothers, to be clear.
Give
The mother's like, daughter, go speak for us.
much like I am just totally
Hmm.
surrendered. And then in November, so there are a number of things happening in between that. Folks can check out. I need to get better on this website thing, but on
Wherever they can find you.
social media. So I'm on IG. That's probably where the most current information usually is on IG. Aina-Nia Ayo'dele.
Mhm.
But also in November, I'm having this year's retreat, Remembering Her Power retreat, and we're going to Antigua, Barbuda. We will be on the island of Barbuda, so it's pretty on the island. It's probably going to be just us and maybe 10 other people.
Right.
It's a very intimate retreat. It's for women only. Women are leading, and it's for women, Black, Indigenous, and racialized women only, who are in some form leading somewhere in their lives. And we're going to spend 4 days together in serious work. A priest from Chicago is also coming with me, Machete Mama. And so we're going to do some really good work, invite folks to come. We only, it's very limited, because we like to do intimate. I like to do intimate retreats
Mm-hmm.
so that we come
Can't
out.
mass produce. You can't mass produce healing.
No, I can't let mass produce healing. And then we get ready again. We're going to open up for our for applications to the Sacred Leaders trainings process, SLT Plus. We're in our 14th year. Again, that's also very limited, and that's a completely ancestor divine process. So we have people apply. We will look at applications, but until the ancestors say yes, we do not. And it's 14 years we've been doing the same thing. When the
I
ancestors yes,
say.
that's how you come in. So yeah, so those are the three major things we have coming up. And you can check us out on Aina-Nia.com or on social media anywhere.
Ashe, that's exciting. Yes, it is definitely a shift happening. And I'm so excited for that work and the impact, because the more people, you touch with your message, then they go into the industries and the things that they do, and that's how the light spreads, right? Regardless of what's happening and what these people, that are going out of power, as they try to use up the last little bit of their power to just wreak havoc with everybody. I always compare it to that scene in Star Wars when Darth Vader was in the lava and he trying to get out. I was like, dude, you in the lava, you ain't getting out of that. It's over. And so the work that you're doing is so incredible and it's so important. And I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see that more of us are doing stuff. And I didn't really start this journey of doing work with women and doing this kind of work until after that 2017 situation, right? Because I'd been doing things unconsciously. I had a
Mm-hmm.
passion unconsciously, but then after that it was like, oh, you the doctors kept saying and the nurses kept saying, oh, you're here for a reason, you're a miracle child. And I was like, that's a straight up multi-million dollar making doctor saying that. Like, somebody, that's something else telling him that. So that's when I started my beautiful, powerful love movement. I wrote a book where I talk about this experience that I went through to some extent, but more importantly, I talked about, it was a healing process for me to unpack the trauma that led me there, to
Mm-hmm.
unpack the ancestral trauma that led me there. So I talk about the stereotypes of Black women and how each of those stereotypes affected me at different stages of my life, from what I was seeing in media and TV, and just what was being told to me about what a Black woman was and wasn't. And then there were things I talk about, I call them plantation proverbs, like you mentioned, being able to see things in the light. Well, one of the ways that I was taught to think was to always expect the worst so that you can be prepared and protect yourself. I mean, we know now as spiritual people, that's the worst possible way to think. But it was what helped my people who grew up on plantations to survive. Like, they had to anticipate the worst thing that could happen, so they was ready. But we aren't there anymore, and we know a different way. At least that, those generations, because I'm sure there were previous generations that thought they was gonna get free, then after a while they lost it. But anyway, this book, and I talk about the traumatic, limiting, toxic beliefs I had and then transforming that. So the book is called From Fat, Black, and Unlovable to Beautiful, Powerful Love. And it's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, all the places where books are sold. You can also go to my website, beautifulpowerfullove.com. There is a printed book, there is a ebook, and also an audio book. And I have some meditations that you can access. Once you get the book, there's a way to access some meditations and a community that I've just started as well, just kind of getting that started up. And then the other thing that I'm doing is, so when I first launched the book in 2019, 2018, I had a series of events here in Washington State where I currently live. I say currently because that has to change. Spirit has already told me that. So I had a series of events, and so now I'm doing a series of virtual events, because the things that I've had to do to heal myself in progress I want to share those with other women. And so I bring in people. Like yesterday, we did a virtual plant-based cooking demonstration.
Wow.
I had two chefs. I had two chefs, one who has children and she's led her children along this vegan pathway, and then another woman who does coaching to help people and cook to help people make that transition. And we had a great conversation and they
Oh,
made
wow.
some delicious things. And so people that weren't able to join that live, they can purchase it to watch it on demand. And then for the next few weeks, I have different people. So this weekend we have Dr. Well, I won't spend too much time going to detail, but I have someone that's going to talk about plant medicine and using that to heal. Because first is the plants coming from the earth to fuel our body, nourish our bodies. And the next weekend is the plants coming from the earth in terms of psychedelics to heal our mind and the trauma that we've been
Mm,
through and
mm.
reprogram it. And that's been helpful for me because that idea of thinking the worst case scenario. And that's why I asked that question about assume good intent. My brain has not been wired for that from Jump Street. I mean, I was incubated in my mother as she was mourning the death slash potential murder of my brother. So I've kind of been
Mm,
saturated in grief. So yeah,
mm.
I naturally, not originally spiritually, but there's a part of me that has to get reprogrammed. So plant medicines are really helpful. So she's going to do a session on that.
Oh,
Then
that's
the
beautiful.
following weekend, we have a sister that's bringing Pilates because that's a space where Black women have not felt comfortable being. It didn't feel like it was for us, but we got more and more Black women teaching it and doing it in a way that's decolonized and for us. So I want to
Yes.
introduce that. I got a sister that's bringing self hypnosis as a methodology to really look as in a more feminine spiritual way on how to change ourselves and heal ourselves. I have that Afro Brazilian dance teacher that I talked about. She's going to teach us some samba reggae because movement itself can shift energy.
Yes.
And that's what
Yes.
we did indigenally as women. The dancing is part of the spiritual practice. And
Mm-hmm.
then at the end, I'm going to talk about liberation through pleasure and sensual ancestral healing because my ancestors have given me, my ancestral mothers talk about they didn't have the space, the time, or the freedom to explore their own sensuality, to actually
Mm,
explore sensuality for its own sake. It was more about protecting themselves, whereas they may not have even had an opportunity to choose who they had sex with or who they
mm,
had children with, or
mm.
even to raise their own children. So reclaiming your body, reclaiming your own sensuality is important, but we got a lot of stuff to break through because we've been taught from those who were traumatized about how to think about our bodies and how to explore that. So
Yeah.
that's what I have coming up. And then
Beautiful. Wow. Love it. And so is all of this also virtual?
yeah, it's all everyone is virtual because I wanted to be able to doing things in person. Like my energy level, I never know where I'm because I'm dealing with so many health issues. And
Yeah.
so, and then a lot of these people that I have doing it are located all over the country. I didn't want to, just confine it to where I'm here in Washington
Beautiful.
State.
Beautiful.
So that's going to be amazing. And then I recover from that, and then I fly to the East Coast because I'm doing a speaking engagement for. There's a Johnson & Johnson Health Advocates Conference, and it's only for other health advocates. But I applied to that and was accepted. So when you say that there's a shift happening, because my topic is about how trauma and the trauma that we have as descendants of enslaved Africans has impacted our health
Mm-hmm.
and how we need to address that. And there's going to be, people in the medical industry, Johnson & Johnson executives, Janssen executives, pharmaceuticals, because, that's what Johnson & Johnson does. And I want them to hear you're treating a whole person who has trauma that is showing up in our health and our bodies in a different way than you have been taught in medical school. So that's part of the talk there. It'll be a short talk, but
Beautiful.
they're bringing me out there. So, and I
Beautiful.
know there's more things I'll be doing. I just don't know what yet because I'm waiting for Spirit to tell me.
It's the most beautiful thing. I'm so honored to be in this world with you at the same time,
Ashe. Me
doing the
too.
work that we're doing. There cannot be enough soul doctors because
Oh,
there
thank
are
you, doctor.
yeah, can't, because there is an eruption. We're in such a mess. It's like, so there as many. medical and naturopathic doctors there are, we need even more, three times as
Mm-hmm.
many soul doctors. And we all do it in different ways. Because I'm going to say your name. I promise I'm going to say your name. I'm going to say it right before we leave.
Yeah, we're both gonna practice it because I haven't actually said yours yet either.
Ohunifa. Hunifa. Onun,
Almost.
oh, Ohunifa. Say it.
Ohun Ohun Ninifa. Like my people.
Ahunifa.
Ohun Ninifa.
Ohunifa. Oh, it's Ifa at the end, like
Yeah.
Yemi. Yemi. Yeah.
But a lot of people just call me Nini. So if you put that, it's Ohun Ninifa.
Ohunifa. Oh, Ohunifa. So,
Yes.
Sister Ohunifa, those who can hear your voice may not be able to hear my voice. And
Right.
those who can hear my voice may not be able to hear your voice.
Ashe.
So we need as many soul doctors as possible
Ashe.
so that the message can get out there in different ways. So
Absolutely.
I'm tremendously honored. So glad we were able to get together.
Me too. It happened. It happened. And of course it happened, when all this this was the divine timing. Chiron is retrograde, Venus is retrograde, Pluto is retrograde. Everything is being transformed, relooked, and revised right now. And
As it should be.
so we can be ready. Okay. Ania, no, say it, Nia.
Aina-Nia. You did it.
Anania.
I know.
Okay.
Like Aina-Nia.
Aina-Nia.
Yeah, Aina-Nia.
Ashe.
We
I'll have
did
to do it
it.
next time because
Yeah, we're gonna have to do this all over again.
Ashe. So with that, I'll get all of the links from you for your social media, and we'll put that in. So wherever, when I post this video on YouTube, people can look in the description to just link directly into you. And the same for mine. And we're gonna keep it going. We're probably gonna come together.
I'm sure we'll come
Divine
together
timing.
again. I'm sure we'll come together again in a live audience and record so other people can hear. There can be enough. There can be enough.
Yeah, because we
So,
know Spirit will wake us up at 3 in the morning and tell us, I'm gonna need you to do that again. We
yeah,
got something else
right?
we need to say.
Yeah, somewhere else, somewhere else. So thank
Ashe.
you, my love, and take care of yourself.
I
I
shall. And
take
you
care.
all that are watching this, whether it's on replay, or actually it would only be on replay because we're recording it. I would say thank you, and have love and light in your life to just enjoy and assume good intent.
Assume good intent. You deserve joy.
Ashe. Odabo.
Ada.
Blessings and peace.
Peace, my love.